Previously, an extra-normal high school student Minoru Kagino, who has a hidden life as a thug slayer and dreams of becoming so powerful to be able to withstand a nuclear attack. Someday he got hit by truck and died instantly. Then he got reincarnated as Sid Kaganu in an alternate world with magic capabilities. Following his past life's dreams, he trains himself and became overpowered in his young age. With his strength, he establishes a shadow organization by mistake, but he is interested in living as a very background character. Following the tragic events at the Midar Academy, Sid has been trying to live a comparatively quiet life and appears quite relaxed. That's when he receives the message from Alpha to visit the well-known city of Lindworm. In the meantime, Beta seems to be going through writer's block as she struggles to come up with new ideas for her novels, but making herself the protagonist in the process. On the other side, Epsilon discovers a soft cosmetic use of the slime other than making hard swords. She covers her flat body with slime to reach the perfect ratio, and competes with the full natural Beta. Nu tells them that Alpha contacted her for a mission in the sacred city of Lindworm. The goddess trial is going to be organized in Lindworm soon, so there are a lot of people going there. So, it's not surprising that Alexia and Iris end up at Sid's department store looking for some undergarments. Gamma meets them and provide the other worlder, menfolk pleaser, the thong. Alexia is extremely hooked as she believes she has what qualify her to wear one, as she plans to seduce someone soon.
I need it!
Despite Iris is against her sister wearing this part transparent revealing undergarments, she can't stand a chance against Alexia's persistence. We get back in time after Sid has courageously put himself in harm's way and saved Rose's life. She starts feeling that he probably likes her. His bravery has impressed her to the point that she has accepted him. Rose even joins Sid on his trip to the city of Lindworm as she met him in the station by coincidence, and tries to stay as close as possible to him. Now the sacred city holds a lot of significance as it is considered the place where Goddess Beatrix has given powers to the three legendary heroes. Furthermore, it is also the place where hero Olivier actually cut off Dabelo's left arm, which was eventually sealed away somewhere around the region. While Sid is focused on his own goals related to the Shadow Garden, Rose is lost in her own dream world. Rose plans to marry Sid, and she strongly feels that if he somehow wins the goddess trial, then her father would agree to their relationship. However, Sid totally misinterprets her intentions and keeps on hiding from her throughout their train journey, which annoys him to the extent that he learns some crazy Spider-Man sleep position to avoid her at night. After Sid arrives in the ancient city of Lindworm with Rose, he goes to the market where the duo visits a few shops. That's when Rose's eyes suddenly fall on the well-known author Natsume, which is Beta using a pen name, and she immediately decides to join the huge line of fans to get her autograph. However, before she goes ahead she tells Sid about Natsume's work. But when he checks the titles of some of her books, he immediately recognizes that she has been shamelessly plagiarizing from well-known works of literature and art in the modern world. Beta came to know about Star Wars, Cinderella, One Piece, and Dragon Ball, thanks to Sid himself. Sid decides to grab one of the books too and gets it signed by Beta, who uses this opportunity to write an ancient language briefing for him about the present situation.
Beta-kun, 君には失望したよ.
Meanwhile, the following evening the Archbishop of the Beatrix Church is murdered by a member of the cult. Sid later manages to track one of the people down, who is eventually killed by Epsilon. But unfortunately, he learns from her that the executioner they have been looking for is actually still in hiding. He leaves Epsilon but notes that she is a very proud woman, seeing how much soft slime she is using. After arriving in the sacred city of Lindworm, Sid appears to be in a mood to just relax and give his body some rest. Therefore, he visits a nearby hot spring where he closes his eyes and allows himself to enjoy the moment. However, he appears to pay no attention to the fact that his ex-girlfriend Alexia Migar is actually sitting naked next to him. The girl have a shocked expression on face, but here, I don't know whether she is shocked because he casually joined her in the path, or the fact that he is alive after she nearly unalived him behind the school building, after he heartfully rejected her. She eventually starts talking to Sid. And when she learns that he knows nothing about the goddess trial, she explains that on the one-day annual event the doors of the sanctuary are finally opened. In these few hours, the ancient warriors can be summoned by worthy challengers who wish to fight them, but she is only here for an important job. Sid informs her that he only came to Lineworm because one of his friends invited him, saying that there is going to be a fun event there. It turns out that Alexia is in the sacred city to investigate the Archbishop, but when she met the officials in Lineworm, she learned about his untimely demise. Alexia thought that Sid will take advantage of their situation in the hot springs and ogle her like he is trying to eat her with his eyes, and she tells him her thoughts. On the other hand, he states that he likes to not look at people while in the hot springs, as everyone will be comfortable. That's why he asks her to stop gazing at his Excalibur.
Got him!
She laughs at his so-called holy sword, but before he leaves, he says the craziest quote ever.
君がミミズだと思ったものはまだ鞘に入っているだけかもしれないんだから鞘から抜かれし聖剣は輝く刃を解き放ち混沌の園へ旅立つだろう
Alexia later visits the annual event, and she is met with Rose and Beta under her alias name Natsumi. Apparently Alexia hates Beta so much, especially after she sees her evil ways of controlling the masses. When the goddess trial begins, the doors of the sanctuary are finally opened, after which challengers with all kinds of motivations are given an opportunity to try and summon an ancient warrior. This turns out to be a long and grueling process, as almost all the participants fail to prove themselves to be worthy enough to draw the attention of a past warrior, except for a challenger named Enrose. Sid just wants that the goddess trial to end soon as he is bored, but that is exactly when things take an interesting turn. The announcer calls Sid's name, and it turns out that he is also one of the participants in the tournament.
次はシド影のかいかにもモブっぽい名前だな
He starts thinking of the different options he has now, but in the end he decides to confuse the audience using a bright magic in the sky, then showing up on the battlefield disguised as Shadow. Sid ends up summoning Aurora, who is also known as the Witch of Calamity. A long time ago, the woman had used her godly powers to push the human world into chaos and confusion. Her reign of terror lasted until the hero Olivier managed to seal her. Since she used to live centuries ago in the past, there is very little information about the nature of the calamities she unleashed on the world. Interestingly, Sid feels quite relaxed facing her, as she seems quite similar to him in a number of ways. When the battle begins, Aurora uses very old battle techniques, but instead of going for the kill, Sid just casually dodges all the attacks aimed at him, and keeps a close eye on the Witch of Calamity. And after he dodges a few attacks, Sid finally goes for the offensive and ends the battle with just one swing of his weapon, leaving everyone shocked. Once the job is done, Sid decides to walk away but notices that the sanctuary door keeps following him. Sid eventually gives up and enters it to find himself in a place consumed by white light. There he meets Aurora again, and she asks him to free her from the straitjacket that she has been confined to for 1,000 years. The duo then starts exploring the sanctuary in order to destroy its core to get out of it, according to Aurora. Meanwhile, a sanctuary gate also appears in the middle of the stadium, after which the spectators are told to go home. When there is only Alexia, Rose, Nelson, Beta, and some guards there, the Shadow Garden surreptitiously makes an entrance. They take down the guards and force Nelson to go through the sanctuary gate with them. But before going, Mr. Baldy here calls for the executioner Venom, who was in hiding. He instantly attacks Epsilon, and cuts her slime silicon assets that she is proud of. In her efforts to not be exposed, she attaches them and cuts the executioner into meat cubes in a split second. Alexia and Rose refuse to be bystanders and follow the Shadow Garden into the sanctuary to figure out what is happening. After arriving in the sanctuary, Alpha tells everyone there that this is the place where Demon Dabilo's arm was sealed away according to the legend. However, she then proceeds to mention that she is more interested in discussing the cult of Dabilos, something Nelson does not appear to like for some reason. Alpha then opens the huge gate in front of her, which shocks the acting archbishop. She explains that a great battle once happened right there. In its aftermath, The vortex in the sanctuary locked away all the memories after the magical powers of the demon and the warriors whirled together. For this reason, the place is now actually turned into a resting place of grudges and ancient memories, which Alpha wants everyone to explore together. Suddenly the blinding white light consumes everything, after which Shadow Garden, Nelson, Rose, and Alexia find themselves looking at the past when the cult gathered orphaned children there for their inhuman and disturbing experiments. The experiments conducted on these children were so harsh that only a few girls managed to survive. The cult was desperate to implant Dabilo's cells in children, and only Olivier turned out to be compatible with it. Nelson justifies this by arguing that they needed strength to fight the demon, which is why they took such drastic measures. However, Alpha then reveals that even after Olivier got stronger, the mission assigned to her was to collect more cells. With the use of ancient artifacts and Olivier, the cult eventually managed to create beads of Dabilos. The beads of Dabilos were capsules that granted people anti-aging powers and tremendous strength. Unfortunately, the drugs had two major flaws. Firstly, no, not this one, our smart princess. Firstly, in order to ensure that the effects do not wear off, one has to ingest the capsules at regular intervals of one capsule a year. But this was complicated by the second flaw of the capsules, that they were incredibly hard to produce, and the cult managed to make only 12 pieces annually. Interestingly, the Knight of Rounds also had 12 members, and the beads of Dabilos were most likely used by them. Once Alpha has exposed the cult completely, Nelson reveals that he is a member of the Knight of Rounds. But before he could do anything, Delta stabs him from behind, after which his body falls into the water. But Alpha gave her this death glare as they didn't finish the interrogation yet. It seems that he has probably passed away, but it turns out that Nelson is still alive and tougher than he acts. Once he emerges out of the water, the entire sanctuary is consumed by the white light again, and the Shadow Garden forces are separated. After which Nelson is somehow able to make several copies of himself. But our cute cat girl starts growing into a fierce, scary lioness. And that's the end of the video. Please tell me your opinion, and like the video. Take care, and stay tuned for more videos.